So, Stephen, thanks for coming on. I wanted to share, obviously, your story with the Trade Partner Network and everyone listening, because I think it's really, really interesting. Um, so we'll go through it. We'll go through your story that I think is going to be very inspiring to everyone else that listens. So, going back, you were not a kitchen fitter, correct?
Yeah, correct. I was in the sort of stone worktop world for a couple of years.
Yeah, and so just for transparency as well, we know each other from previous, and we've done some stuff together
Yeah,
in the worktop world. So, um, obviously, you were doing worktops all the time. Me and you were just speaking as we normally do, and then it came about from memory because you said, you're in. People were asking you, weren't they? Because you were doing the worktops, but then they were asking you about supplying the kitchen as well, weren't they?
yeah. So sort of like I guess when people were shopping around for worktops, it was kind of like, oh, do you know anybody other than sort of the big sheds that do kitchens? And it's kind of at
Yeah.
first it's like, oh no, we just specialize in the worktops. We don't do that. But then after a while, it was kind of like, is that is something to
Yeah.
sort of look at there?
So that's where we started chatting on it, and I said to you, obviously, well, there's the trade partner thing
Yeah,
and all the rest of it, um, and then we had a couple of conversations, if you remember rightly, because I remember you were like, well, I don't have the experience, and I'm not a fitter, and da 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 da. Basically, you wouldn't know where to start with it.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
again, we were just going in and it wasn't even me on the tools in the worktop world. I sort of sat in the customer service, the sales, marketing, etc.
yeah.
So when you said about, what about the full kitchen? I'm like, well, it got a little bit
Rabbit in the
kind of,
headlights.
yeah, I was like, I'm not too sure about that. But obviously, through conversations that we had and discussing the trade partner program and sort of the resources and tools that are available, it was a little bit more appealing, to be honest.
Well, it naturally does plug into worktops. You're in people's houses that are having kitchens, and I know
Yeah.
it sounds daft because people might think, well, how can you be getting leads from that if they're doing the worktops? Because surely they've already got the kitchen and da 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 da. But it does happen, and
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes it was people. Just to be clear on that, it was people sending you quotes for worktops, wasn't it? So they've had plans for kitchens.
yeah, but they haven't committed to the purchase yet. It was kind of at that stage of, well, what does the kitchen cost? What does the worktops cost, for instance? And they were trying to get, I guess, budgets together, and so it was just, yeah, it was sort of at that information gathering stage instead of going, we've
Yeah,
bought a kitchen, can you do the
yeah.
worktops?
So it felt like then that really that there was something there, but it wasn't clear what. But there was definitely some money being left on the table.
Oh yeah,
Because
100%.
people was always asking you, "Oh, can you do this and that?" And it just goes to show as well how shit the industry is when people are coming to a worktop supplier to ask for kitchens, and they're asking that sort of question because they just haven't got confidence in some of the bigger companies and all the rest of it. So
Yeah,
it's just interesting that happened. I think it was just, and then that sparked the conversation with those. So after those conversations, I said to you, look, just sign up as a trade partner. It's only opening an account, and then get your head around what we offer, and see if it's something that you think after that that you could take to these customers. So that was it, really, wasn't it?
yeah.
So you
It
signed
was
up.
sort of like, have a read of this and sort of look at the materials on offer, and that you started to put in the university, and it was just kind of like watched a few videos and
Yeah.
okay.
So universities like so you signed up, then you. So how did you find that process? So you just signed up online, got your
Yeah,
box and all that stuff, didn't you?
super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you got the link. So for anyone listening, we have KBB University. So I pointed you then into the university, which is on the KBB Trade Partners website,
yeah,
um, which is basically resources to help you sell. And
yeah.
you
Because
just
there's some of the questions of like, well, I don't have a kitchen showroom. How will I sell a kitchen if I don't have a showroom? And you
yeah,
know, putting quotes together. So just by watching that content that was on there, it's like, okay,
yeah. So in theory, then the you were at a standing start, no experience in the kitchen world, in other than the worktop sector,
Yeah,
and basically then between having conversations with me, Lee, the team, and using the KB University, that basically took you from zero to being able to sell kitchens.
pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah, which
yeah,
is quite interesting because even though we did have some conversations, I'd say probably 90% of it came from what was in the university, didn't it?
yeah. And again, it's just kind of like you're a little bit unsure, so the tools are there, the videos there. So if I want to watch the same video, 3 or 4 times,
Yeah,
because I'll do something, I'm like, let me watch that video again, and it
yeah,
just points out something that I might have been struggling with. So
yeah. I
just
mean,
having access to that was kind of an evening. Let me just watch a couple more videos. Let me learn a little bit more about this.
mm, yeah. So you
Yeah,
found it useful then, basically, didn't you?
yeah, 100%.
Obviously, it's been a game changer in terms of transitioning you away from where you were to what you're doing now. Um,
Yeah,
so university was really important. So you signed up, you got your box, you've got your all the bits that are in the box, like your survey paperwork, your branded brochures, all the rest of it. You've gone to the university. You've then started thinking, right, because you get a bit excited at that point, don't you? And go, right, I've got all this new knowledge.
yeah,
How do I find customers? And what's interesting about the way you've done it is obviously because you had contacts from the worktop world, fitters, other tradespeople, and all the rest of it.
yeah,
So your jobs now that you're winning are coming from like networking, aren't they? A lot of it is coming from just networking.
yeah. I'd say 75% of it has come through networking.
Mm,
A little bit through social media, and I say a little bit, because
mm.
it is a small portion of it. Um, but yeah, mainly just building up that network of other trade guys, builders,
Yeah, because it's something that people
owners.
overlook a lot. And in the obviously in the KBB Academy, which is the step up from the university, which is reserved for our website customers and people who want to build a proper business, in the academy, there was quite a big section on networking. Because I did a bit of that myself back in the day, and you've done it, and a few other people in the network are doing bits of it. But networking, because the way I look at it is really to change your life, to get to your two jobs a month changes most people's lives from where they are now. And
Yeah,
when you think about that, it's 24 jobs a year. So let's extrapolate the numbers.
yeah,
Right. Let's say you've got to get to 24 jobs a year. Let's say I win 4 through social media. I win 4 through networking with local people. I
hmm
win 5 through an online profile. I, send leaflets out and win another 5. I've just got to 20 jobs there, and not one of those things is responsible for all of it. Do you get what I mean? So
yeah, 100%. Again, videos that you've done explain that type of stuff, not just having that one kind of dimension approach to it. It's like,
yeah,
oh
you
well,
can't do that. You can't do
no,
that. I think that, let's say, because you've done networking, you've done a bit of SEO off your
yeah,
own
yeah, yeah,
back. Like I said, you've done your social media, and this is the good thing that you've not gone in search of a silver bullet. It's like you've recognized early on that I can't just do one thing and rest on that. Like again, and you have done a bit of Google ads and paid ads and all the rest of it, but I think yourself and through conversations that we've had that we've recognized the brand isn't quite ready for paid ads yet, just because of the homework that people do when people use paid ads, generally the consumer, they'll do homework on the business away from paid ads. And
yeah,
when you are quite a new business, you can spend a lot on paid ads, and the cost per lead can be quite astronomical if you're
yeah.
not.
And I did, I think I won my first job, and I was like, oh, got a bit of profit, and I spent like 1,500 quid, close to 2,000, running a Google campaign. Well, I only had about 3 Google reviews.
Yeah,
Website was obviously there, but social media, sort of the sort of posting frequency wasn't quite there. I wasn't visible in certain places, and in the end, it was, I guess, a waste of money of
no,
trying
I
to
think
get
it's a
Google
lesson
when I
that,
wasn't quite ready.
like it says in the university and in the academy, we build things up over time. So your SEO, your social media, your networking, all that type of stuff, getting your name out in the local area has to be done before paid ads. Because everyone that we've seen have a crack at paid ads too early, too soon, waste a load of money. And some, to be fair, mate, I've seen it put people out of business because they've literally gone, oh, I'll just spend on Facebook ads and the rest will be history. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, upon sort of like looking back at that, thinking, God, that money spent on Google Ads, that could have been better spent either through the online profiles at 30 quid a lead, some more brochures, some more flyers, and even paying myself a little bit more.
Yeah, that
You know,
that would have been a nice thing too. But Rome wasn't built in a day. And right, so so in terms of getting your journey going, we've done a bit of networking, we've done SEO, we've done social media, we've had a crack at paid ads, but I say fingers burned, a bit too soon.
yeah.
But where we're at now, and it's interesting, but we'll come on to that more in a minute, the results of your marketing, because there's some really good stuff going on. So just let's go back through the journey then. You've had your box, you've started doing a bit of stuff. Now you've got in front of customers. So we've done a bit of work here now. We're stood in front of we're stood in front of a customer for the first time ever trying to flog them a kitchen. Was your eyes twitching a bit?
Yeah, 100%. You're a bit of a stuttering mess. You feel like you're getting, hot and sweaty. I think I wore a jumper, which was like an instant regret. Because I'm just like, sweating under the collar.
Is it hot in here? Is it just me?
Yeah. I mean, I think I spent like 2 hours with the first customer trying, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we'll do this," and just
over-egging it.
oh mate, yeah, looking at back in that first, and I come away thinking, "Oh, smash that."
Yeah.
And then, from where it was then to what it is now, just like, but again, you just got to go through it, haven't you? It's a part of the growth, and
yeah, it's part of getting it right. Like saying in university, you've got how to do the perfect survey and all that type of stuff. And there are tips and tricks in there, but nothing really prepares you for the point where you've got a customer breathing down your neck. Thinking that you're the expert and they're asking you, they're grilling you and stuff. And yeah, it is uncomfortable. But on the survey, again, we do try and make it as easy. Bearing in mind that you've gone into these surveys, the first few, completely green, not knowing much.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But you have made use of the KBB online planner. We obviously give you the survey paperwork, and you've used your branded brochures. So basically, you've used the stuff that we recommend that you take to the survey with you, your flyers, your warranty card, you've took branded brochures, you've paid to have your logo put on and all the rest of it. You've used the survey paperwork properly. You've used the online planner. So you've shown the customer. So when you turn up to the survey with all that, even as a newbie, even if you're shit at doing a survey, they're going to think there's something behind this business, because how's all this stuff, this technology, this online planner, his iPad with, showing all the stuff, and you're thinking, even if you're crap at surveying, a lot of that stuff does carry you through. Do you get what I mean? Because
and I found that first couple of sales again, still sort of like not really knowing what unit can be put in which place, because again, I'm not from that fitting world and design world, etc. But just by having the sort of online portal with my iPad, I've got the information there. So if they ask me questions like, "Oh, well, what about this option?" Just making use of sort of the tools available, really, all the different, like I said, branded brochures. So when talking about ranges and product information, you're getting asked sort of at the beginning of the surveys, "Oh, what about this door? What's that?" And then you've got the tools there to go, "Well, that's a Caldara, it's 20mm timber painted finish.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that one and the Como?" And because you've got the information there, you can sound like you know what you're talking about, obviously over experience.
So I think the message there is, if someone signed up and got the box, practically everything in that box and the instructions in the information pack get them to the point where you were there. You literally stood in front of a customer ready to sell. And not to mention that there's a carcass sample as well in the box that, the welcome box that goes out. So literally, if someone spends I think if you spent just a couple of hours, one, going through the box, reading the info pack, downloading the software and all the rest of it, you're literally at the races, within minutes. you're ready to sell. And again, the reason why I've pulled your story out of everyone's is the fact that you weren't even a fitter, and in our audience and people, most of them, 99% of them are fitters, and it's interesting that they overthink some of this stuff. It's like, because knowledge isn't always, people say knowledge is power. In this world, I think it's a curse because I think people struggle a lot with getting other people to do things, and overthinking this whole sales process to think,
Mhm.
oh, I need to talk about technical stuff. And it's like, no, you just need to do what's in the box, do what the information pack says, go in the university, absorb the information on how to do things, forget that you're a fitter and
Yeah.
go in with a fresh. And I think that's the thing. You've not gone into these surveys and into these sales processes with the curse of, I'm a fitter. You've gone into
Yeah.
it thinking, I'm trying to sell a kitchen, fuck it, and
Yeah.
I'm not overthinking it,
Yeah.
and I think that's the problem a lot of people have is the overthinking. They're taking this I'm a fitter badge into the sales process, and it's like,
Mm.
no, you're not a fitter at that point, and I think that's why you're like moving on, like you are selling more kitchens than most, and that's, again, obviously we'll come on to why in a moment, but so when you did make your first sale, how did that feel? Like that moment where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it's proof of concept, really, isn't it? It's kind of like, well, I've done it.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
and and you followed, so in the university again and in the academy, and if people go to the trade partner website, and look at all this, they'll see that in there's the perfect sales process as well, which you followed the first version of that. So when we put out the first version, the
Yeah.
basic version, there's been adaptations of that since. But you just basically followed the sales process that's in the university, didn't you?
Yeah. Again, just kind of watching the videos and reading the content that's available, and like, okay, do I have all my bases covered? Okay,
Mm.
cool. Let me send that out.
Yeah,
Don't
because
get
your
me wrong,
conversion rate.
there's been some mistakes made because of thinking I understand it,
Yeah,
when in reality it was still so new. So then I, you get to then go back and watch that video again and go, I didn't do that quite as right. So for instance, the first couple of looms that I sent out, I didn't have
yeah,
the
the
video
picture
on
of
my
the camera.
face, because it was
Yeah,
like, oh, video, like, ugh.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now it's just,
It's interesting that because obviously everyone shits themselves over the video. So just to um, anyone listening, the sales process part of it, when you send your quote, you send a video um, with your quote, and we use a piece of software called Loom. And it's the bit that, as tradespeople and even just anyone really, it is uncomfortable. Being on video and hearing yourself and watching yourself back, it's like, oh God. Even I go in the university and on our content sometimes and watch videos back, and I hate it. Do you know what I mean? But what your customers get from it, and then I'm the perfect case in point here, that people think, oh, do you think I enjoyed filming all those university videos? No, but what my customers get from the value that they get from me doing that video is immense, and you have to put yourself second in that point. What's more important is that you make a sale. The most important thing is that you make the sale. So your own, oh, does my hair look right? Do I sound right? Like, that's just overthinking bullshit. And this is what we need to get across to people as well, is that these videos, they increase the chance of the sale significantly, like double digits. These are the things that take your conversion rate from 20% to 30 and 40 and 50%. When you get them videos nailed on right. And I think that, again, it's an opportunity, that video, for people to see you, see your face, hear your voice, and it draws you closer to them. And
yeah.
again,
I mean, you've said that, obviously we've had conversations about, doing the video, and you're like, just pull the plaster off, get it done, because the customer's not seeing you for the first time, are they? You've already been out to the home survey.
exactly,
They've seen you. You've seen what you look like. They've seen your flaws. It's just a video of you, sort of. So yeah, once you kind of get that out of your head. And again, it's something that I've struggled with, kind of putting myself in the
Well, it's
video.
what everyone struggles with, but well, there's many things, but early on in the journey of learning how to sell, and getting the selling right is the price you pay for the lower the lower your conversion rate is, and this is the numbers game. If your conversion rate is low because you're missing things out of the sales process, the amount of surveys you need to do is significantly higher. The amount you need to spend on marketing is significantly higher. The more time you need to spend away from your family with more customers, surveying more jobs, quoting more jobs, it's just a lot more graft.
Yeah,
And that's why, like, when people I don't want to do a video, you won't spend 5-10 minutes of your time putting a video together, but you'll go out and survey 10 jobs a week and be home late for tea every night and spend your weekend quoting jobs where you're quoting double the amount of jobs because you're doing it a shit way. Your life could be a lot easier if you just honor the sales process. And I think your sales conversion rate's hovering somewhere around 25% at the moment, which, considering, well, it could be higher because you have got quite a lot in the pipeline as well. Bear in mind,
yeah,
it's not a full drawn conclusion that yet. It's at least 25%. And considering that the business isn't even a year old, that is incredible, because there are people that are a few years into it and they're not even scraping a 15-20% conversion rate, but that's because they're being lazy with the sales process, and ultimately end up giving up and going, these are the people that, and we see it now, we see it far too often. They get excited, they get on it, they won't do the sales process properly, and then Ren will ring up or someone will go, "Oh, can you fit a kitchen for us?" And they go, "Oh yeah, I will do, yeah, because I've got nothing else in my diary."
mm,
Do you get what I mean? And that's what they fall back
yeah,
into. And then the diary gets filled up with fit only jobs. Then they start accepting the old reality of, oh, well, maybe I just can't do it. No, you need to get this sales process nailed on. And I think, like I say, you're a really good example of nailing that fucking sales process on, and making sure that it's done right. We're following up with the customers properly. We're sending the videos properly. And again, I think that's this is where it's a good and a bad thing that you were not a fitter. You know what I mean? Because um, again, it's that overthinking bit again.
yeah,
I think that you've come into it and been able to just focus on sales. And I know some people listening will go, "Yeah, well, it's all right for him because he's not got to do this, and he hasn't." But these are just excuses at the end of the day. This is just about application. This is about taking a bit of knowledge and a bit of resource and using it in your own day-to-day life, and that is practically all you've done, and that's in the university, and it's already gonna get you to a point where let's say, for instance, you win 2 jobs in a month and each one of them makes 6,000. Say that each one of them makes £3,000, yeah. So
mm,
over the month you sell 2 jobs, you make 6 grand gross profit. Obviously, there's costs and stuff to come out of that normal living. You're not spending much on marketing, bear in mind.
no,
Um, but some of these guys who are doing labour-only jobs are working all month to earn that 6 grand. Some of them don't even hit that 6 grand, and they're working 20 days. They're working the full 4 weeks. Do you understand what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And in your world, where you're thinking, well, I'm not fitting, and I'm doing the sales bit, but I'm really nailing it. What is it? Probably a couple of surveys a week. What is it? 4 or 5 hours a week in real terms. Do you get what I mean?
yeah. To
It's
do the surveys and obviously putting the proposals together, recording the looms, doing a bit of social media, doing a bit of SEO. But it's not. I'm not doing 40-hour weeks, 60-hour
No,
weeks.
exactly that, and that's the bit. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Is that for a fraction of the time spent just doing the sales process properly and doing the marketing bit, or we'll say, we call it marketing at this point. It's still you're still potentially on the verge of results here, where 1, 2, possibly 3 jobs a month. In another 3 to 4 months from now, that will be probably quite normal. That's where you're heading. Do you get what I mean? Because the trajectory is that's what's happening
Yeah,
here, and it's yours to lose at this point, because you're great at selling. You've proven that. You've just got to nail this next bit now in terms of getting projects moving, getting more consistency now in it. But
yeah. I mean, obviously, again through. I mean, I have attended some of the support group meetings with
yeah,
few of the other guys. And I think one of them you talk about rhythmic acquisition, and then once kind of that penny dropped, because at first it was like, oh, I've sold the kitchen, great, and then it's
There's
kind
an
of
extra.
like, so you've got that high, sold the kitchen, well, I can do this, and then it's kind of gone back down to normal, and I'm like, all right, well that sale's done. What now?
Yeah.
So then it just becomes a flat line again of going, and then the money starts to get a bit, could
Yeah.
do a
But you
sale.
need that flow, don't you? And that's what
Yeah,
we're talking.
exactly. And again, as you say, you said it in one of the group meetings was rhythmic acquisition. It's like
Yeah.
how to keep that pipeline as full as possible,
Mm.
or at least in inquiries and trying to get home surveys booked because it's happened to me. You sell the job, you go on that massive high, and then the reality sets back in of like, okay, well that job started, that's going ahead, that job's signed off. I don't have any other leads.
Mm.
And you start getting not desperate, but it's kind of like, what can I do? And instead of panicking, just planning that out a bit better.
Yeah. So in the marketing module, so KBB Academy, we talk all about the rhythmic acquisition, and more before the rhythmic acquisition, we need the rhythmic activity. So
Yeah,
what we mean by that is we can only get the acquisition of the leads and the customers if we have the activity happening ahead of it. So, i.e., is our social media getting done? Are we networking with people? Are we doing leaflets? Have we signed it in our van? Do you get what I mean? Have we done all these things
yeah,
that make us visible to the world? And then are we doing the activity? Now, I've looked at this in a lot of detail and gone, there's so many things in the marketing module of the activity where I'm going, I'm not being funny, but if people can't make a business out of this, there's a serious problem, and it ain't with what I've created. Do you get
yeah,
what I
yeah, of course.
mean? And this is why, again, thanks for coming on, and that's why I wanted you to come on, because you've just gone into this, not overthought it, not you haven't brought any baggage into it and had any excuses. You just got on with it, and you're making sales. And that's the message here, that it's just making, if you can do it, who's not a fitter, then surely a fitter shouldn't struggle with this. This is not something that someone with all those years of experience and knows the industry inside out should not be struggling to execute these plans. And I'm not saying, I'm just saying the message here is that this is a low hanging fruit with all the services that are on offer and the support that's on offer. This is a really low hanging fruit for people to grab. And
Don't get me wrong. It's not. I've booked in the support calls. I've exhausted kind of a lot of your time and Lee's time, and
yeah,
Ariana and the team of guys that you and Lee have put together. So it's not like I've just done it. I've I've signed up and now I'm making sales. Like I've had the help and support through what you
well, to
guys
be
have.
fair, everybody that's making a success of it has had the help and support. There's a direct correlation between the people that reach out and get the support. Like we do the academy, we
Mm-hmm.
do the KBB University, we have the Facebook lives, we're now starting the podcasting and the YouTubing and all that type of stuff. So the content we're starting to push out there's shitloads of it, and there'll be more of it. And booking in the calls are still available. Me and Leo jump on a call with people, as as all the other guys that are in the network know. When they're in the time of need or they need some help, we are accessible as people as well, and we do jump in and get involved
Yeah,
in people's
100%.
business.
As you've said, sort of throughout this chat, is I'm not from a fitters world,
Mm,
so a lot of this stuff, I'd say majority of it, has been quite alien.
mm,
It's like, Aaron, I need a support call. Lee, I need a support call. My head's falling off a little bit, and then obviously having that chat of calm down. This is what you need to do. Go away and do it. And then it's kind of like you were right.
yeah. Yeah,
So
and I think that's the thing as well, is like people need to trust the process, trust what we've put in university, trust the academy, trust me and Lee, trust the stuff we put out there. Because
yeah,
what people have a tendency to do is question it, do something different, come back to us and go, oh, fuck that up. What should I do now?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we can't help you unpick something that if you've gone off your own back and done it against our advice.
Hmm.
And again, the people that have made the biggest success are people that have just gone, right, I'll go and do that. And they've got on with it and just gone and done it.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know,
that. It's almost like that blind trust, isn't it?
yeah, I mean,
Watching the
obviously,
content and having the conversations and building up the relationship. I know you and I have known each other before this, but I've not known Lee since I start. Since I signed up, and it's just building those relationships and going, well, these guys have done it.
mm,
This is how they're telling me to do it. So
yeah.
why would I not do it the way that they're advising me to do it?
Well, we are part of your business. That's the way that's why on
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
emblem it says your perfect partner is because we are partners. We are there. Without you being a success, we're not a success. And I think
Mhm.
when people get their head around that and go, actually, I need to get help here. I need to move on because I understand that if you're trying to get to 2 jobs a month and earn the 10 grand, so on the front of the information pack, we do espouse that you can win 2 jobs a month and earn 10 grand while you're still probably half on the tools. Now that is doable if you're on the tools. Half on, half off, whatever. We know it's possible. We've done it ourselves. We've got other people doing it. The numbers stack up. It's not a bullshit number. But you have to you can get to that point. What I'm saying is, without you don't have to be Richard Branson to get to that point. You just have to apply yourself to what it is we're doing. Now, if people, and most people say it when they come on, I want to get to 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 jobs a month, and I want to build a proper kitchen empire in my local area. That does require a different level of person because we need to completely switch off some of the old learnings, and
Yeah.
if you don't tap into, like, for instance, if they don't listen to me, they don't listen to Lee, they don't listen to what's in the academy, and they do things differently, you will not get there. And I think, again, because what we're doing is what took us a decade. I think that academy can get people there in about 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's where there's so much information out there. You might Google something and it's like hundreds of pages of Google trying to show you this answer to the question that you've asked, and it's like, well, who's that person that's wrote the article?
Mm,
I used to say that they're right. I mean, with you and Lee, it's proven you still run your own business. You still got your own stuff going on. Now you're offering this trade partnership program. And it's like, well, okay, here's two guys that practice what they preach instead of
mm.
just some random article that maybe even ChatGPT's put together and pasted
Yeah,
it on Google.
a lot of that going on.
Well, that's what I mean. So it's kind of like, you can, and then you go through those mistakes and it's cost you thousands, and it's see 6 months down the line and you're going, you're still not clear on what you're trying to do. Whereas
Mm.
you and Lee, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, I think the point I'm trying to hammer home there with that, what I've just said and what you just said, I think the takeaway from that is this is an expensive industry to make mistakes in. You
Yeah,
know,
100%.
you will definitely get
So
burned
far,
if
and
you try to venture off piste and
mhm.
do things differently to the way we're saying. And I think that's the bit. It took us a very, very long time to get there. We've reverse engineered it and gone, right, well, let's get that into this program. Let's
Mhm.
get these guys. And I think a bit of it is like, for instance, you're less than 9 months into it and you're already where you are now. I mean,
Yeah.
we had fucking nothing, mate. Our business in years, it took years to get where you are now. You got to think about that in perspective.
Mhm.
We've collapsed time enormously. Your sales process, you've took off us in months, even weeks. To be fair, because you've been there for quite a while now with that sales process. That took us years to get to that point, to
Yeah,
work out what
that's
works, what doesn't.
you can watch these sales guru videos on Instagram and be like, oh, this is how I close a lead and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, actually, the better proposals, it's showing that you're not sending a PDF. You're not writing out your quote with messy handwriting. It's a legit sales process, and then you're doing the loom. You're sending your proposal with your logo on it, and it's like, well, these guys are serious business. Whereas these gurus on TikTok and Instagram, they don't tell you this type of stuff. You're just like, here's an email to write. And
Yeah, it's
it's
just not bollocks, is it?
isn't it?
And I think again, the sales process is all geared around. We're not selling kebabs here. We're selling kitchens,
Yeah.
and people need to trust you, and the sales process is all built around building that trust. Um,
Mhm.
and I think when you deviate from it, and when people come back to us and go, "Oh, I'm having problems, my conversion rate, blah, 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 all this," and we look at it, they're just deviated. There's
Yeah.
yet a time where we look at it and go, actually, shit, we've got a problem in the sales process. Now, we know there's not a problem in the sales process because we have used that ourselves for many years and we still use it now and it still converts very well for us. The only common denominator when people are having problems is when they're either deviating, they're adding things in and taking things out that they shouldn't be. Now, adding things in is just as dangerous because I've had loads of suggestions at the meetings where we have these, the support group meeting. Oh,
Yeah.
I did this in my sales process. I added something in, and I end up saying, "Well, I did that 4 years ago, and it dropped my conversion rate." Because
Yeah.
all the ideas, I'm yet to hear one that we haven't tried. We didn't just stumble on it, and it was like, "Oh, well, that works."
Mhm.
I've tried it every single way you can imagine, every single way, different layouts in the proposals, different scripts in the videos, different ways of presenting the quotes. And what we settled on there was when that sales process that we teach now is executed properly, you really shouldn't be under a 40% margin, 40% conversion rate.
Yeah.
If you're not, there's something wrong, and that's just that's the truth of it, and the people that are at the higher end of being good at the selling, when they've got a proper brand. And that's why I say 2 years, because I think if you're good at executing that sales process like you are, and you're under a year old,
Mhm.
right? Without the brand perception isn't quite there just yet because you're still relatively new. The
Yeah.
history is not there yet. When you're getting into year 2, 3, and 4, what do you think that business is going to look like?
Yeah, of course. There's more reviews on Google. There's
Yeah, more case studies on your website,
yeah,
more social media,
yeah.
your videos are better, your sales process is better, your leads are better, everything's better.
I'd say, I'm more comfortable in somebody's home, sending out quotes because again, sometimes the numbers can be a bit
Yeah, of
scary.
course, yeah, because you're sending big quotes out, but and again, you settle into the survey. So, like, I go into meetings sometimes with customers. It's very rare now, but I do still dip my hand in every now and then. But you're just so much more relaxed. Because I walk into things and I'm like, the customers can feel how relaxed I am about the situation. I'm not tense. I'll have an awkward conversation very easily,
Mhm.
and it's like I take the pressure out of it because I've got that experience, I've got that confidence, and that's the difference. And half the time I look back and even like when I first started, I'd be like, God, I was shit at surveys. I used to look back and go, how the fuck anyone used to buy anything off me? I'll
Yeah,
never know,
yeah,
but it is just about being yourself, relaxing into it and getting good at that thing. And, we'll always be self-critical. We'll
yeah.
always
And
be,
obviously, that comes with time and experience, isn't it? And going in there and making mistakes and saying things you probably shouldn't. And
yeah, and we'll do that forever, mate.
God, why did I say that in that survey? What a dick!
Yeah. And I'll tell you the biggest thing I've ever done, which is just not talking about yourself, not let you go in, but you just always keep it on the customer. I've always found that with surveys, like just don't talk about anything other than that job and them, and make it all about them. If you hear
Yeah,
yourself talking about yourself, just shut up. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Because they're not asked. They
yeah.
don't give a
Like,
shit.
what kitchen can we get, mate? We're not bothered about your social life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I've seen it with people in the Loom videos being over friendly, talking shit, and sometimes putting stuff on social media on the business page that shouldn't be there,
But
and
yeah,
they're
I
not
see that
committing.
sometimes. I think, why have you posted that on your business profile? Like,
You can see that people are just pissing on their own chips, and they're harming their own sales process. Again, all that social media stuff we'll cover in a different piece of
yeah,
content.
but
But
yeah, just I mean, on the social media, I mean, I see some stuff like they post like pictures on from the weekend, and it's like I just try and think like a bigger brand. Like the bigger brands don't do that, so why would I do that?
The thing is, the way that the trade partner program and all the services around it are designed to make you look bigger.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So I'm one man band, you
Yeah.
know, but
Don't come across like a one man band, for God's sake,
that's what I
because
mean. But
then
these
it's all daft.
businesses that post on the stories, for instance, of oh happy birthday to my missus and blah 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 blah. It's like nobody
Yeah,
wants to see that, mate. Keep that for
no,
your personal profile
yeah,
and
no,
keep
it
your
doesn't.
business page about your business.
Yeah, no, it is. And the thing is, part of your success has been your social media, and it. You've been consistent with it. Like we have had conversations around your social media, and you are a perfectionist, and you always want things to be better. But the point is, you've stayed active, you've stayed relevant, you've kept it on point, and you've had quite a few leads through social media as well, haven't you?
Yeah, again, not tons, but obviously on the Calendly that set up is the bottom question is how did you find out about us? And it says there social media. I mean, I'd done a survey, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and when the survey came through on into my inbox that home survey's been booked, I recognised the name and I was like, why don't I know that name? And I was like, they've been following me on Instagram for a couple of months now. They always watch the story, and it's like so again, it's not. I don't think you'll ever sort of make a business from just having posts on social media, but
Not immediately,
it,
maybe in 5 years' time.
it
Yeah.
brings just another element of somebody can find you there, and
Mm,
I've got Linktree set up, so they click my Linktree, they can go and book a home survey straight away because links on Instagram don't work. They do on Facebook, but they don't on Instagram.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
use of the Linktree and directing people to the Linktree, then they can find your blog, website, home survey page, reviews, etc. You can put whatever you want in that Linktree.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's helped. Again, it's just another kind of place, I guess, to advertise if you want to put it that way.
Well, the way I look at social media is it's a shop front. People aren't going to go there to do business with you, but they're going to go there to check you out. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's like if you look at a shop, like there's a shop window. That's what I want to see. That when a customer's shopping, they'll start in the window.
hmm
Are you on social media? Have you got a website? Have you got reviews? Blah 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 blah. Now this isn't this is just all subconscious thinking that's going on in the back of the customer's mind. If you're subconsciously ticking all these boxes, then they walk into the shop, and then the next level is, have you got your HIP in place? Have you
yeah,
got
yeah,
all that type of stuff? Do you understand what I mean? Like your home improvement protection insurance, and they'll do business with you inside the shop. But
mm.
if the stuff on the outside of the shop isn't there, they ain't ever going to come through that door.
Yeah. It's like you
And
see a
that's
shop
how
and it's
you've
got
got to
a
see it.
negative sign or a window might be smashed. I'm not going in there.
Exactly. And it's all that. It's perception at the end of the day,
Yeah,
and looking like a bigger business. Right, cool. So that's how you're getting your leads. It's SEO, social media, all the rest of it. So you've obviously been in front of customers, you've used all the tools, you've made your first sale. That was amazing. Now we're getting on to being on the job. So, as we've established, you're not a fitter.
no.
So, how do you do it? If you win a job,
Again, through the network, I've got a couple of guys that I will speak to about the job, and get sort of through going back to the worktop stuff, and we used to network with a couple of joiners and stuff. So if we go in and do the quartz and the old tops need ripping out, sort of say you've got a job there, go and do that. So that's just kind of carried over to this subcontractor agreement. Discuss the terms up front, and I get the guys to basically go and fit the kitchen.
hmm. So again, this is something that fitters inherently overthink, is getting other fitters in to fit for them. You've not had a choice in this, have you? Because
No,
you
'cause
can't
I
get,
don't
so
know how
you,
to
you
take it. I still don't know
exactly.
how
So
to take it.
you've had to get fitters in.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, you've got to find the right ones, and that can be painful.
Yeah, of
Um,
course, yeah, I've experienced that as well. But again, it's just building up that network, isn't it? And taking
yeah, and I
maintaining
think
relationships.
obviously you've had mainly good jobs, but you have had a couple of fitters mess you about,
Yeah.
and I think that this is everyone's worst fear. This is that I think this is the bit that anyone who's a fitter listening needs to know. Even if you have problems with another fitter, it doesn't mean that it's the end of your life
It
or
felt
the
like
end of
at
your
the time.
business.
Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, okay, there's a problem there. This fitter's let me down. Chin him off and get somebody else to finish the job.
Yeah, and but to some fitters, that's the bit that they think if that happens, that their whole reputation is destroyed and their life is over. Their legacy as a kitchen fitter has just been absolutely evaporated. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
This is, and it's that fear that this thing is going to happen that stops a lot of them from moving forward. It really does. It stops them in the tracks where they go, I can't grow the business because if I'm not doing the fitting, it won't be perfect. And I think that your story, where you've had your challenges around having to bring fitters in, and now you've got some good ones, but you have been, messed around and shown up at times, but you've dealt with that in a way that's you've come out the other side, and you've still got a business. You're still intact.
yeah, of course. Again,
You're
at the
still
time,
there.
it didn't feel like it.
The world didn't end.
It felt like
Oxygen
it.
didn't vanish.
You just persevere. It's just kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Am I just going to go? Oh, well, I've spent all this time building this business, put so much effort into it, and believing in what I've built, to just let one job kind of destroy that. Well, the answer is no.
Mm,
Again, it's uncomfortable. It cost me money, cost me a lot of sleepless nights and headaches, and
yeah.
questioning myself, because again, I don't come from that fitting background and sort of kitchen world background to a degree. Is this for me? Is this something I can do? And then once you sort of like kind of get through that and making up a sales, all right, cool, let's crack on.
Yeah, because again, I just want to re-emphasize the whole, the world didn't end when that problem occurred, and there was life after it, and I think that again, when I started, I was in a similar boat to you. I went pretty quickly away from the tools and went into selling,
Mm-hmm.
and you just naturally do have problems when you employ staff, but the price you pay for not having the staff is actually bigger because you end up on the tools forever. Um, you know, do you want more shit and how would you put it? So less shit and less money, or more shit and more money.
Mm,
That is basically the equation. If you want to stay on the tools, all right, you'll have less shit, but you'll have less money.
yeah.
If you want to get off the tools and have a proper life where you can run your business from a beach if you wanted to, I know you can't do that all the time, but you can email and do looms from a different country. You could effectively run your business other than doing the survey from anywhere you want.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got a bit of managing the jobs and all the rest of it. And this is the bit that people, it's like, again, the equation of doing the video with the quote. The price for not doing the video with the quote is massive. The price for overthinking getting another fitter in who can. So if you're at a point where, if you're on the tools, I always say to people, if you're fitting 1 or 2 jobs a month and then you have the opportunity to bring another fitter on who can do the third job, but you won't do it only because you think, oh, he's going to ruin my business. The thing is, if you're good enough with customers, if the shit hits the fan, they'll always let you put it right.
Yeah, and again, the one that went wrong for me, it was like, just we'll take care of it. I know it's not what you wanted to see, and it's not how we envisioned it going, but things happen. Don't worry, we'll put it right.
Mm,
And
yeah,
they allowed me, to do that.
yeah. And you didn't get a 1-star review. You
Mm.
know, it
No,
might have cost you a few quid,
yeah,
but they haven't destroyed you at the end of the day. Your business will recover and it will flourish after that event. But you
100%.
haven't gone into it thinking, oh, if this happens, and you haven't overthought that happening. Do you get what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, and the customer said, because of how you've been with us and we like you and everything that you've done so far, like, if you wasn't this way, then we probably would leave you 1-star review and we would not be sort of happy. I mean, we're not happy, but we'd be probably even more.
Mm.
So there was like, yes, we will give you an opportunity to put it right, because I spent time with them during the home survey, sort of going through different layouts. I've done the design review with them, the Loom video, the emails. I spent time with them and
Mm.
almost built
Yeah,
a bit of a relationship.
yeah, I have this conversation with people quite a lot where they're like, "How should I deal with this problem?" And this is where getting your pricing right and your margins right and all the rest of it. You have to write checks to solve problems in business.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest weapon you've got as a business owner is a checkbook. Yeah, because if you've got a customer that you think is going to destroy your business online, a checkbook will sort that out.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I
Yeah,
mean?
and it cost me a lot of money to put that job right.
Exactly. Your
Um,
checkbook will always pull you out the shit. And this is where, even if the shit happens and you say to a customer, look, like I've had it, I'm not going to pretend that every job we've ever had is perfect. I've had some absolute disasters,
yeah,
like that have cost thousands. And
yeah,
just because I've made mistakes, I've brought dickheads in, I've done it, I've been there, done it. I've been grilled in front of customers over stuff that I've not even fucking done. But because it's my business, I'm the one that's on the chopping block. But I'm thinking, as much as it pissed me off, I'm not going to give up my lifestyle and my life and my whole journey because one thing has happened.
hmm,
You get what I mean? It's like, yes, it's happened, but it doesn't matter at the same time. I'm just need to move past that. Um, because I've built a life around making sales. I've not built a life around fitting, and that's it. And I still have to accept that shit's just going to happen sometimes. But again, the conversation with the customer is, look, I know we've pissed you off. This isn't what we promised you at the beginning. Da 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 da. What have I got to do to make it right?
yeah, and it's just being honest, isn't it? Instead of
Yeah,
trying to bullshit your way through it, just like, look, yeah, we've
yeah.
we've
I'll
cut.
knock $1,000 off your final bill.
Yeah,
Just don't do me in online.
yeah,
And write them a letter that says, I've done this with a few trade partners already when they've had problems where we've had a problem with a customer, and I said, look, golden handshake, because obviously we know how important reviews are and all the rest of it. So if you have a fitter that's come in, he's fucked you over, um, you just need to go and see the customer, write them a letter, and go, look, I know I've really pissed you off. I made a hash of this. It's one off, but I accept that I need to make it right for you. I'll put the job right, but I'd appreciate. I'll give you a £500 voucher or £500
mm,
check, but this is an agreement that you don't sort of blast it from the rooftops.
yeah,
Now, in my opinion, that 1-star review will cost you a lot more than 500
100%.
quid
Yeah, yeah,
if you
100%.
don't do it. Yeah, if you think you can piss people off, you know, number one is don't not do things because you might have a disaster. No matter how hard you try, you will always have disasters. Then you need a mechanism for dealing with that disaster. Now, usually it's writing a check. Now, if you write the check and you just get it solved, because at the end of the day, it's not the embarrassment to that one person that's the real problem. The real problem is destroying your brand because you've got an issue that you haven't dealt with properly. And again, you've had it. You've come through the other side of it. You you're still here. And like I say, I want the message to everyone else to be: one, don't worry about taking other fitters on, because either way you're going to get shit jobs, even if it's your fault
Mhm.
or not. If it happens, your life won't end, your business will carry on. And if you need to write a check to make sure that that's the case,
Yeah,
then make sure that you've got that cash behind you to make sure you can get rid of that problem. I'd say that's a fair assessment of that, wouldn't you?
yeah, 100%. Agree with everything you just said. It's just, again, it's just having accountability, isn't it? Not trying to bullshit your way out of it. If the customer believes that you've been honest, and you're then offering to put it right and sort of knock a bit off the final payment, why would they destroy you online unless they're a certain type of way?
Yeah, and again, if they are a certain type of way, then I'd like to think that you'd have picked that up on the survey and swerved them in the first place, because those types of people are usually very easy to spot.
Yeah.
You know, but generally, from my experience, don't get me wrong, we've had a couple of 1-star reviews over the years, but we've been going over a decade. So you're not going to avoid them forever. What you need to make sure is that 9 out of 10 give you a 5-star review, and if you get the odd 1-star, then it's people will always look. So if you're into 10, 15 reviews at 5-star and you get 1-star, that's not going to destroy your business,
Yeah.
because the ratio is very, very good.
Hmm.
And then that's there again. not the world's not going to end if it happens. As long as you're doing 99% of the stuff right, and if you bring in people into your business, which is something we all have to do to grow our business, we can't avoid it. But again, shit happens. It's just a case of getting over it, but not overthinking the fact that you're going to have to bring potentially other fitters and other people into your business to do stuff. The fact you've been forced to do it is just interesting. Do you get what I mean? Because you haven't had a choice, whereas everyone else in the network practically does have a choice. And I just feel like they need that push. And I hope that this story has been inspiring for them to make sure that they don't overthink the sales process that you've just flown into, the recruitment of fitters that you've just flown into. And you're seeing the results that really, really everyone else wants. So there's a really, really good message here about how you've approached things. Most of it's not through choice. You've just not had a choice to do it. Do you get what I mean? And you haven't had the comfort blanket of Ren turning around to you and going, "Oh, do you want to fit a kitchen for us next week?"
Yeah.
Or someone like that. You've not had that luxury. And I think that, again, that isn't even a luxury. The guys that have got this fallback of, oh, well, if I don't win my own jobs, other people will give me jobs. That is just kicking life down the road, because that's not where your life's going to change. Do you get what I mean? This is where your life's going to change. Attacking this sales process, recruiting people, building a business. That's what's going to be what changes your life, changes your kids' life, changes your missus' life. And, accepting the jobs for labour only fuels the stuff you don't want. Because in my opinion, if you've signed up as a trade partner, you didn't sign up as a trade partner to stay doing labour only work, did you?
Yeah, and I was just about to say that point. Obviously, you've just mentioned it. It's like, it's how serious you want to take this, and where do you see it going? Like, do you want to just sell the odd kitchen sort of now and again, or do you want to change your life? And obviously, that's why, I've signed up, and I know some of the other fellas that I've met sort of through the trade partner program, meetings and lives and stuff like that. They've done the same. It's like, no, I want to change my life.
Got kids, they got families.
Yeah, I've got a couple, I've got two boys, wife. We want to holiday more frequent and drive a nicer car, and okay, it's a bit materialistic in some ways, but I also want to have a rainy day fund and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, if you just want to sort of crack on and do one or two, sell maybe one kitchen a month, but then you're doing 3 fits. Okay, that's fine. But if you want to build a business, and I think that's what people have signed up for, because they want to build a kitchen brand and business. It's, there you go. Just do this and it will come.
Yeah, no, it does. And again, there's a few people emerging that are making a really good job of it. And like I say, people don't sign up to stay working for labour only jobs. They sign up to this opportunity and open this trade account. Obviously, people just want to buy kitchens, and however they want to structure their business is completely up to them. 1 or 2 jobs a month. If you're fitting, you can earn a lot of money doing this. Do you get what I mean? If you're on the tools and you're fitting, and you're getting
yeah.
Pardon?
I said, I see what I pay out to my fitters.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can earn really good money, because if the customer's thinking, "Oh, this is a bit of a bigger business," then you've got, you can be fitting 2 a month, doing a few surveys on the side, all the rest of it, making your margin on the product as well on the same jobs. I mean, some of the guys can be pulling in, the 8, 9, 10, 11 grand a month. Obviously paying for a bit of marketing, all the rest of it, but it's not bad that. It's not bad, is it? But anyway, I think that's it, mate. I will thank you for joining us and sharing your story, because I think that I find it very interesting. Again, it's a standout story for me in the network, because I think that not just because I know you, that's got absolutely nothing to do with it. I think the fact that it's just the fact that you've gone into all the things that people overthink: the sales process, the recruitment of people. You've had problems, you've come through them. The future looks really bright for you, and I think it's a shining example of what's possible when you don't overthink things. And sometimes that bit of a green-eyed, oh, just walk into this and see what happens, is The same for me. I was naive early on in many of my business journeys, and some of them worked, some of them didn't. But that naivety made me learn, and and
Yeah.
that knowledge. I don't mean naivety in like a derogatory way. I mean we're all
Oh, oh,
naive
yeah, of course.
in lots of different ways. What we don't know what we don't know, until we know it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of these guys listening will be thinking, well, I they're just overthinking it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, like I was saying, it's just not overthinking it. Get on with it, because when you just go through it and you just go through the first few weeks of pain, and you make that first sale, and you get the bug to go, oh, hang on a minute, that wasn't as difficult
Mm.
as I thought it was going to be. And
Yeah, 100%. It's like I think my first few Loom videos are done like 20-minute long, 25 minutes long. It's like who wants to watch me on video for 25 minutes? I know this podcast is obviously a bit different, but who wants to watch me on video talking about their kitchen for 25 minutes?
yeah,
But going back to the academy, watching how to do it again and sort of looking at the script again, I think I've got it down to like 7 minutes.
yeah. I mean, as long as I always say, people say, "Oh, how long should this be? How long should that be?" My rule is, if it's not boring, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When something's boring, it matters, because 20 minutes of boredom they won't watch it.
It's just over
But
talking, it's like
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
need.
there is that, and like I say, but the academy is really good. There's lots of stuff in there. Again, that's been useful. The university. So anyone who's listening, where the things that we're referring to here, if you've not been there already, is the Trade Partner website, which is www.kbbtradepartners.co.uk. You can go there, have a look at the academy, have a look at the university. You can see what Stephen's learned, get a grip of all that stuff, and there's no real reason why people can't just emulate exactly what you've done in the same amount of time, is there really?
No, just got to do it, haven't you?
Yeah, got to
Just
crack on.
do it.
Stop overthinking it and crack on. Right, cool, mate. That's been fantastic. Speak to you soon, and I
Yep,
hope you've
no
enjoyed
worries.
that. All right.
All right, mate.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers.